serotonin in my head. I'm addicted and I don't mind it.
This is how the song started. Good writing, a great vocal, but it still sounds like a demo. Let me show you how I turn something like this into something that actually feels release ready. Most demos aren't bad, they're just incomplete. Usually what's missing is depth, intention, and some emotional shape. The goal isn't to make it bigger or louder for no reason. We just really want to make it feel intentional to the song. So here's the exact process that I follow when I get a session like this, open it up, and I say, all right, how can I take this and work my way towards the finish line? When I get a demo, the first thing I do isn't jump straight to plugins or instruments. I listen for arrangement. So let's just take a listen to this verse into chorus together, kind of to just hear the starting point of when I opened up the song for the first time.
It's all daisies and dandelions, laced up, lurked on your lemon eye. Lips are sweeter than cherry pie. I shouldn't act like I'm surprised that we lost that time of night. It's all daylight and baby blue.
Cool, so it goes into another verse there.
Fresh like peach tea in the afternoon.
Good vibe.
All night colored in shades of you. I shouldn't act like I'm surprised, darling.
Alright, dropping into the chorus here.
Serotonin in my head. I'm addicted and I don't mind.
So noticing a little bit of a vocal dynamic jump.
Look what you did.
A little higher register than the verse.
Got me hooked and you know I like it.
So obviously this is a song that I have already gotten all the way to the finish line, but I know when we started production on this, this was really the first step that I took in learning the song. It was feeling out the dynamics, going from the verse to the chorus. It feels like the chorus has a lift, but it's not necessarily like from a 3 to a 10. It's more like we're at maybe a 3 or 4 in the verse, and we're just going to like maybe tops a 6 dynamically, 5 or 6 in the chorus. And so production-wise, I wouldn't necessarily want to just throw a bunch of big stuff in the chorus because it's the chorus. I really want to learn how the song interacts with itself in these different sections. So step 1, mentally, I'm thinking, this song's probably never going to reach a level 10 dynamically. We're probably going to live in that 6 to 7 dynamic region. And so then we're going to work backwards and say, okay, how can we make the verses interact with the chorus in a way that makes sense? If we're only going to land at a 6, we don't want our verses to feel too big or too small, because it just kind of feels like a groover to me. And so that's kind of the way I would approach thinking about the song before I even touch an instrument. Next, I really want to approach the production in a way that adds depth and meaning that serves the song. And so now that I've kind of, learned some of the arrangement and dynamic kind of target board, where I'm a drummer first, those are usually some of the first production elements that I'll hear. And so, remembering back to when we worked on this, I'm pretty sure drums and bass were like the first final elements that we laid down. And so, like I said, this is just such a simple, like kind of steady groover of a song. A lot of my chorus and verse elements are the same. They're just changing slightly, like the busyness or what's happening to serve each section. More so, that's how the dynamics change. It's not necessarily louder or quieter. It's just patterns or variations that kind of add a new interest, that'll then subconsciously make you feel like, oh, now we're in the bigger section of the song because the kick pattern's busier or one new percussion element. So let me just solo out the drums here. Again, we'll work backwards. So this is what I've got going on in the chorus. I forgot that I used a gong in this song. That's hilarious and awesome. Yeah, so super simple. And then just backing up to the verse here. Yeah, it looks like I literally only have a kick and snare layer happening in the verse. Yeah, really cool sounds. The only part of the drum section that I'm adding are simple claps that are going to match that tabla type percussion snare sound. And then just like the most simple shaker ever. So I'll play like 10 seconds of the verse into the chorus, and you can just kind of hear that like oh so subtle dynamic shift. In chorus 2, 3. For instance, the clap layer, that's not even something you'd necessarily really notice in the chorus as a change. It's more like an additional space in the frequency spectrum that we're adding to the drums to make it just feel oh so slightly bigger, but it's not really like a new idea or a new part. And that really is the way that I'll approach a lot of the instrument sections. Like moving down, you can see in the verse here, I've only got 2 keys layers happening plus this little pad. And then moving to chorus, the keys layers change, but I only have 3 layers versus the 2 layers in the verse. It's not the most revolutionary approach to how I'm changing the dynamics in this song. It's just really applicable, simple moves that just change and add interest. As you can see here in verse 2, I cut it back to just 1 keys layer for the first half, and then on the back half, I'll add in a second layer and then bring my little pad back in. So I'll just solo keys and drums so you can kind of hear dynamically what's going on. Really fun sound. In the back half of the verse here, we're going to add that stuff back in. So it takes us a step up. Now we're going to hit the chorus where we just add in all of our layers again. Yeah, so really simple. I'm really just doing chord layers, and then I'm matching the vocal melody with kind of a wonky synth sound in the chorus. But there's really not, there's not a ton of change necessary, because that's really not what the song was calling for. So once we have kind of built out the production as far as music elements, I always say vocals for last in the production process, just because a lot of the production choices and arrangement and dynamic choices that I do in building out the instruments are going to really influence the way we approach the vocal delivery. And so with this song in particular, we approach the vocals kind of like I did the instruments. As you can see here, I've got literally just the one solo vocal happening in the verse. And there's like some cool effects, like some slap delay and a really short, like interesting reverb that are kind of like adding the interest to the solo vocal. But then dropping into the chorus, that's when our 1 or 2 additional layers are dropping in on the chorus, just to add that slight edge, slight dynamic shift. We've really only got the center lead vocal, we've got a chorus stack, and then a high stack. And I think on that we literally just did like a high octave double. So we tracked that and vocal lined it. And so I'll play just a second here of the verse into the chorus so you can kind of focus in on those vocals and hear the dynamic shifts here. And so here in that back, it's more of a subconscious dynamic shift. And so I'm going to solo those out. And soloed, you'll definitely hear, some of the high octave stuff poking out more. But in the context, it just feels like, okay, we went from here to here. You know, there's not the most insane dynamic shift in the vocals.
Serotonin in my head.
So you can hear that high octave there.
I'm addicted.
Yeah, super fun. Yeah, the next typical part of the process is really creating moments. I talked about this a couple videos ago, but really we're just now wanting the production to serve the song in the sense of we want these moments to really impact you. And there are lots of different ways we can do that. It could be as simple as before the chorus drops, we're going to cut a couple instruments so that there's more of an impact when the chorus hits. So say the verse is at a 4 dynamic, we're going to drop to a 2 or even a 1 for 3 to 5 seconds before the chorus jumps to a 6. That little arc is going to really make the choruses or the bridge, or whatever the part of the song is most impactful. It's really going to hit you even harder with creating little moments like this. So I'll show you here. Coming out of verse 2, we have a great example of that. So it looks like for about a bar and a half, my bass is going to fade out, drums are going to drop completely, keys are going to kind of fade. We're going to hone in on that verse vocal as a listener, and then kind of be, you know, thrusted into the chorus dynamically. So let's just give it a quick listen to that. We'll take it down even more, back up. And so from verse to chorus, even though we're only going from like here to here, it's almost like the little roller coaster effect really makes that chorus hit you harder, even though there's not the most insane difference in production elements. In this song, I think we had 3 to 5 of those type of moments. They don't all do exactly that. You know, there's some times where a simple swell will kind of be the thing that takes us on that quick little journey, or a drum fill could be the thing. Like in the little moment I just played, a guitar lick was kind of the thing that was keeping your ear along on the journey. So there's lots of different ways that we could do that, but I just think being intentional with what those moments are trying to accomplish can really take your production to the next level. Now we polish. I don't mix perfectly at this stage. I just want to make sure that all the production elements translate. And you know, a lot of times I will mix my own productions, but say if you're producing something and want to send it off to a mix engineer, you obviously don't want to just give them a bunch of unleveled stems that you haven't really made sure all make sense together. So in this next phase, even though I'm probably going to mix my own song, I want to make sure that the production feels done. And so I'm going to, you know, get the mix maybe to a 60-70%. I'm just going to make sure levels are feeling right. If the cymbal swell into the chorus is the moment, I'm going to make sure that that just sits right. And if I'm on a chorus, I'm just going to make sure my stacks and my harmonies are kind of like sitting right. Doing that's really going to help you come to the conclusion of, am I done with this production, or is the song still asking for more? You know, this could be with simple basic bus compression, minor EQ adjustments, tightening up some of the low end maybe, or even just as simple as kind of leveling out the song. You don't need a million plugins to get a rough mix feeling like it's in a good place. You just want quick clarity and intention. So alright, here's the demo, and then I'll play the finished version.
Serotonin in my head. I'm addicted and I don't mind it. Sarah, look what you did. Got me hooked and you know I like it.
Same song, just some more clear decisions. If you're producing your own songs, focus less on making it bigger. Focus more on, how can I make this intentional? That's usually the difference between a demo and something that people actually release. Peace.